Guys, welcome to EcoSAP and I'm back with another video. Today's video lesson is about how to use present simple tense, and by the end of this video you'll be able to do that. So let's start with the first usage of present simple tense. The first usage of present simple tense is pretty easy, and we use present simple tense when we are stating facts, truths and generalizations. Let's look into some examples to understand this more. The sun is bright. Now this is a fact. It never changes. The sun was bright yesterday, it is bright today, and it will be bright tomorrow. So that makes it a fact. Cats don't fly. Now this is also a fact because everyone knows that. Cats are better than dogs. Now you may not agree with this because this is my personal truth. And in this sentence, I have made a generalization about cats and dogs. Now let's look back what verb I used in these sentences. In the first sentence, we have is. I have used be verb is to talk about the sun in this sentence. In next sentence, I have used the negative of do, that is do not. And you'll notice that I've used the contraction of the do not and put them together to make it don't. And finally, I've used the be verb are in this sentence to talk about cats because cat is plural. Moving on to the second usage of present simple tense. We also use present simple tense when we are talking about habits and routines, those actions and things that happen regularly. So let's see some examples. I always eat lunch at noon. You play games every day. John starts work at 9 a.m. daily. Now these are some examples, and in all these examples there is a clue that tells us that these actions are happening regularly or on routine basis. Now let's see what verb I used in these sentences. In the first example, I always eat lunch at noon. Now here is an adverb always that denotes this action is going on regularly, and the verb here used is eat, and this is in present simple tense. I eat. In the next example, you play games every day. Now can you see the clue here that tells us this is happening regularly? Yes, every day is the word that tells us this action is going on regularly, and the verb here used is play. You play. And finally, John starts work at 9 a.m. daily. Now this action is also happening regularly, and the verb here used is starts. Now you may notice a difference in this case. I have used an extra s by the end of the verb. This is because our subject is third person singular, or we can say whenever our subject is he, she or it, we add an extra s or es by the end of the verb. So in this sentence, John starts work. We cannot say John start work because this is third person singular. Moving on to the next usage. We also use present simple tense when we are talking about non-continuous verbs. These are those verbs which we don't use in continuous form, even though they are happening right now. These are also known as stative verbs. These are connected with our emotions, feelings, opinions, our five senses. So let's look into some examples. I love my mom. It smells good. Jane feels happy. Now let's look into the first example. I love my mom. Now this is an emotion. That's why I have used the present simple tense. And love is non-continuous verb. It smells good. Now again, smell is one of the five senses. And the usage of s after the verb is because our subject is a third person singular. It smells. Now finally, Jane feels happy. Now here we are talking about a feeling, and again using the s because our subject is a third person singular. Our subject is a she. Moving on to the fourth usage of present simple tense. Now, people often use present simple tense when they are talking about near future events. So, this is very common in usage. It can be confusing, but let's make it very clear. We are not using the future tense here. We are using present simple tense when we are talking about the upcoming or very near future events. I have class at 6 pm. Now, see, 6 pm is pretty soon. That's why the present simple tense I have. In the next example, Jane arrives on Sunday. Now, Sunday is also near future. Okay, that's why I have used the present simple tense and the verb here is arrives. And again, I have used an extra s after the verb because our subject is a third person singular. We start work tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is also near future. That's why I used present simple tense form of the verb we start in this sentence. So, remember, we can use present simple tense when we are talking about near future events. Now, let's talk about the possible negative usage of present simple tense, that is, do not and does not. Let's look into some examples. Our first example says, Mike eats bread. Now, the subject in this example is the third person singular. That's why there is an extra s by the end of the verb. Now, this is not a negative sentence. So, what will happen if I change this into negative sentence? Well, I've changed it like this. Mike doesn't eat bread. Now, you'll notice that the verb does not have an extra s by the end because I used doesn't in this sentence. So, whenever the subject is a third person singular, we use the negative form of do in the form of does not. And in this sentence, I have used a contraction of does not and combined the words to make it doesn't. So, the negative of Mike eats bread is Mike doesn't eat bread, and this is in present simple tense. The second example says, you swim well. Now, in this sentence, our subject is a second person singular, so we don't need an extra s by the end of the verb. And to change this in negative form, we add don't. And here, we have used a contraction of do not and combined them to make it don't. So, whenever the subject is I, you, we, they, we use don't to change this into a negative sentence. Now, I'll talk about one possible question form for present simple tense by using do and does. Let's look into some examples. The first example says, they live here. Now, this is not a question. So, in order to change this in a question, all I have to do is to add do in the beginning and question mark at the end. So, when the subject is I, you, we, they, we use do in the beginning of the sentence and to change it into a question. Our second example says, he plays soccer. Now, by now you must be knowing why I have added an extra s by the end of the verb. This is because our subject is a third person singular. Now, this is not a question. So, to turn it into a question, all we need to do is to add does in the beginning of the sentence and a question mark at the end. So, whenever a subject is he, she, or it, we use does to change the sentence in a question. Now, this brings us to the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon and let us know in the comment sections how you like this video, and we are open for suggestions and opinions. Thank you for watching.